This picture supports a very old theory about Iron Man and Spider-Man, which we are going to discuss today. But before we get to that, let's clear up the confusion. As I pointed out in my previous video, the reason why Peter is not visible in Tony's picture is that Spider-Man belongs to Sony, and without their permission, they couldn't show him there. That's why they placed Iron Man's helmet, which Peter wore in Iron Man 2 when he went to the Stark Expo, in front of Peter's photo. But some brothers pointed out that Spider-Man's face wasn't shown here because everyone forgot that Spider-Man is Peter, which opens up a discussion. As seen in Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange erased Peter's existence, causing everyone to forget about him, and all his memories were wiped out. Because of this, even MJ and Ned, who went to the same school with him, couldn't recognize him at the end of the movie. Even Happy didn't recognize Peter when he met him at the end of the movie, which left us all wondering what happened to the physical evidence that proves Peter Parker's existence. We get the answer to this in the extended cut of Spider-Man No Way Home, where we see that in the pictures of the Midtown school kids who went on the Europe trip, Peter's face is altered. Like in this picture, the guy in the blue t-shirt is Peter, but a bird has come in front of him, hiding his face, implying that Doctor Strange's spell also alters reality to erase Peter's identity. So, there could be two possibilities here. The first is that Peter is not in this picture at all because if he were, Happy would have recognized him when he met Peter at the end of No Way Home, saying that this is the same guy who took a photo with Tony and whose photo frame is in my room. Or, just like in Far From Home, Peter's face might have been blurred here, or his name might have been removed from his certificate for some reason. But we can clearly see that the certificate is visible here, and anyway, if this picture is so corrupted that we can't see his face or tell who he is, then there's no sense in keeping that photo frame there, because everything there held significance, like Captain's prototype shield that we saw in Iron Man 2, Coulson's Captain America cards that we saw in the Avengers, Iron Man's arc reactor that Tony threw away in Iron Man 3, but we saw again at his funeral, his suitcase from Iron Man 2, his Mark II helmet from Iron Man 1. The point is, I believe the reason for covering that picture was the deal with Sony, not Doctor Strange's spell. Because if it were the effect of Doctor Strange's spell, that certificate wouldn't be there. But because they wanted to hint at how old the relationship between Iron Man and Spider-Man is, they conveyed this message through the helmet. And if we look at it from the movie's perspective, any changes in reality would happen after Doctor Strange's spell, not before. While this scene is from before Infinity War. The emphasis on the relationship between Iron Man and Spider-Man might also be because, at the time of No Way Home, New Rockstars presented a theory that the radioactive spider that bit Peter was created by Stark Industries, and that's why Tony was keeping an eye on Peter from the beginning. To back this up, they said that Peter had been going to the Stark Expo since childhood, which Kevin Feige himself confirmed by saying that the kid Tony saved here was Peter Parker. So, what might have happened is that during one of these Stark Expos, a radioactive spider created by Tony was either stolen or escaped and bit Peter, after which it died. When Tony found out, he thought the experiment had failed and wouldn't yield any benefits, so he moved on. But seeing someone in a spider-like outfit helping people in New York, around Queens, Tony thought it could be the result of that experiment because the Stark Expo we see in Iron Man 2 takes place in Flushing Meadows, which is in Queens. And guess what? Peter also belongs to Queens. Besides, when Oscorp arrives in Earth 616, they say that there's another tower in place of the Oscorp Tower, which could be Tony's or Stark Industries' tower. Because in the MCU, we see Stark Industries making weapons for the military, which the military also buys. I know Hammer Industries is also a competitor, as they provided weapons to War Machine in Iron Man 2. But seriously, the missile that turned out to be a dud can't be part of Peter Parker's origin. It wouldn't make sense. Also, if you look, the military used a sonic weapon to stop Hulk when they faced him, which was provided by Stark Industries. Additionally, if we go to see Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the company providing weapons to the military is Oscorp. We shouldn't forget that Howard Stark also contributed to creating the super soldier serum, so we can assume that Stark Industries might have a division working on unlocking human potential or mutating them by combining them with animal genes. This could be the division where the radioactive spider was created. If we see, Tony inadvertently created villains like Ironmonger, Whiplash, Mandarin, Ultron, Vulture, and Mysterio, in which Tony had no direct hand, but they all eventually revolved around Tony and blamed him. So, it makes sense that in the MCU, There's at least one guy who was created because of Tony and is good, who is a superhero named Spider-Man. This also explains why Iron Man and Spider-Man are so close in the MCU, and why Tony considers Peter his responsibility, where he even says in the movie that if anything happened to you, I couldn't forgive myself because Peter became Spider-Man because of him. Who knows, maybe Peter's dad, Richard Parker, also worked for Tony Stark, and through him, Tony got this helmet, implying that they were so close that they could exchange gifts, where Richard gave this Iron Man helmet to Tony, which was made by his son Peter. Tony kept it safe right in front of Peter's photo because from the first time Tony met Peter in Civil War to the end of the Homecoming movie, Tony doesn't meet Peter, and when he does, he talks about making him an Avenger. And we can see that he's empty-handed. After that, Peter becomes the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he meets Tony again only when they have to go to space. After that, the snap happens. So, there's no visible journey of how this helmet reached Tony from Peter's home, other than the theory I provided, which is an addition. Just like the Hulk was created by gamma radiation, which Banner was involved in, but that theory doesn't explain how this helmet ended up here. So, I made a few changes to that theory to provide an explanation. Now, let me know what you think about this theory that Tony was directly involved in the origin of Spider-Man, which serves as solid proof for the fan theory that has been circulating on the internet for a long time. Besides, the reason Peter's face isn't shown here is Sony's doing, not Doctor Strange's spell, as according to that moment, Doctor Strange hadn't cast the spell yet. I'm excited to know your opinion, so don't forget to comment your thoughts in the comment box. See you in the next video.